Thunderworks offers a dual intake for the Indian Scout, and it can also be fit on an Octane by Victory or the Indian Bomber. In order to install the dual intake, we are first going to raise the handlebars and the speedometer. They have to be raised out of the way a little bit because the tank is also being raised. The handlebars and speedometer are raised with riser blocks, which are provided with the dual intake kit. You have to be careful with all the cables and getting everything out of the way. That's why we have this blanket over the tank so you don't scratch anything. And the riser blocks come with longer bolts since it's being raised up, so everything you need is included. The next step is to remove the gas tank. You first remove the seat and the 4 bolts at the rear of the gas tank, which are covered by a rubber flap. Jam a little piece of wood in there to raise it up about 2 inches. Now you can disconnect the gas fuel line, which has got 2 tabs, one on each side you have to depress at the same time. Then you can slide the tank back a little bit and up, and you'll have to tuck the fuel line underneath the hoses and frame in order to get it out of the way. And then there's one other connection you have to get to. There's an electrical connection on the underside of the tank. You have to reach up and depress one tab to pull it out. And then you're ready to remove the entire tank. To remove the tank, you gently lift and pull backwards. Once you get it off, go set it someplace safe where it's not going to get damaged. This next step involves removing one frame bar on the upper part of the bike. You're going to leave the other side on. There's 5 bolts that hold it in place. You may find some tie wraps attached to the frame bar. Snip those off first before you pull the bar away. As you remove the frame bar, leave the 2 bolts at the front of the bike in place and put a nut on one of them. That way the other side is still held rigid and the bike will not scissor close on you. Now you have access to the stock intake that came with the bike. You want to loosen and actually completely remove the hose clamp at the front of the filter, and then you will pry and pull the filter until the whole unit comes off. You will also need to remove the pollution control hoses at the bottom of the intake before you pull it out. It doesn't want to come off easy. You have to first lift up the back to get it off of the intake throttle body, and then kind of twist and pull it out to the side. Now you can remove this rubber seal at the top of the radiator. You won't be using it again. It's time now to install the new dual intake. Loosen the hose clamps and carefully slide the curved 2-inch pipe on the one side, taking care not to scratch the powder coat. Then connect your pollution control hoses and put your frame back on. Now you can install the tank lift brackets using the longer bolts provided by Thunderworks. Do it the way it's shown so that there's always one bolt holding the frames on the bike. It's very important that there's always at least one bolt holding these frame bars in place. Otherwise the bike can actually scissor close and kind of collapse onto the engine. Once the frame bar is secure, move the rubber bumpers up to the new brackets to hold the tank at a new height. Now you can begin to adjust and tighten everything. You want to make sure that the 2-inch tubes coming out of the frame are not rubbing on anything. We provide some little rubber pads to help, and even a large zip tie to squeeze the large U-tube a little bit, so you have your tubes coming out the sides isolated from the vibration of the bike. Once you're happy with the mounting of the intake, it's time to slide the tank over the rubber bumpers. And then of course you have to attach the electric fuel line connection and the fuel line. Then drop the tank down and put the 4 bolts back in. As you attach the 4 bolts at the back of the tank, the plate no longer is flush with the mounting bracket because you've raised the front of the tank. So just secure the bolts down until they're snug. If you go ahead and tighten it all the way down, it'll bend the bracket a little bit, which doesn't hurt anything. Then attach your air hose lines, put your seat back in, and you're ready to go. Now it's time to attach the K&N filters to the 2-inch intake pipes. Slide them all the way back so it does not interfere with the turn signals on the bike. Now that you're done, you now have the only true cold air intake available for the Indian Scouts.